Hello people and welcome back to the RDF Tactics YouTube channel. Today's video is going to be very similar to my previous one. So I've created a tactic. It's a powerful 4-2-4. We're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the formation, then talk about the idea of the tactic. Lastly, going into Football Manager, looking at the instructions and the results. I did test this tactic with two teams, Manchester United and Oxford United as well. So that will be fun. Manchester United of course are a very strong side. Oxford, they are decent in League One, but they aren't the very best. So before we get stuck into it, you guys have been absolutely amazing supporting this channel. If you are new or you haven't yet, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you like this video as well. That helps this channel out a lot. Also, you can share the video. You can check out my Patreon page as well. Shout out to all my Patreons. But for now, let's get started. So first off, we're going to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of a 4-2-4 or a 4-2-2-2 formation. And this little image here was designed by Russell Pope. You can find him on Twitter. His Twitter handle is on the top right of this image. So for the strengths, the system promotes central overloads in attacking phases. The system can be effective when building the attack from deep. The two central midfielders can act as a double pivot to facilitate this. The two number 10s or wingers can be extremely effective in roaming from their position and find space between the opposition's defensive lines. The two centre forwards can match up 1v1 with the opposition centre backs. The system in itself can be fluid and change shape to resemble a 4-2-3-1 with a centre forward dropping deep to receive the ball. Defensively, the system can be effective in pressing high. But for the weaknesses, the system when attacking can be extremely offensive with the fullbacks pushing up and the centre mids providing support. It can lead the team in being vulnerable when transitioning. The two central midfielders can become outnumbered when playing against a three-man midfield. If the two wide players take up extremely inverted positions, it can become hard to penetrate the wider areas. The player acting as the number 10 needs to be tactically excellent as well as technically adept. And lastly, pressing high in the system to win the ball back is vital. Now, it says it needs to be aggressive, but in my system in Football Manager, it's not really aggressive at all. In fact, I have actually tried to keep some defensive shape, which we will talk about now with the main ideas of the tactic. Attack and goals is simply the idea or main attacking principle of this tactic. The front four will attempt to give you very direct attacking options as the wingers stretch the pitch and look for a pass in their path, and so too the main goal scoring striker. Alongside the advanced forward, who will be the main source of goals, he is partnered with a deep lying forward, someone that can act as the number 10. Due to only having one of our central midfielders supporting the attacks, the deep lying forward will always try to ensure there's a link between the midfield and the attack. This allows us to attack and counter in different ways instead of sticking to one direction. Naturally, the wingers will attempt to get the ball played out wide, but if that option is not on, we can then use the deep lying forward for a more central route. He can then either link up with his striking partner or he can then get the ball out wide to the wingers. The wingers also force the AI to defend wider once the ball is in those wider areas, and that's when a striker or a box-to-box midfielder can exploit the space by moving into the channels or between the two centre backs. The crossing will also be key to creating chances, so once the ball is in the wider areas, we will attempt to get bodies inside the box. The two midfielders in the middle have a job in trying to keep some shape for the team. One of the midfielders, typically the box-to-box midfielder, will attempt to support the attack by lurking around the edge of the box and even dribbling to bring the ball forward, but not with the greatest intent, and his midfield partner will look to shield the defence, rarely getting forward but rather breaking up play. The fullbacks also have a similar job in trying to keep a defensive shape. They will be supporting the midfield and wingers rather than overlapping and hitting the byline. The 4-2-4 will come with some obvious weaknesses, such as a gap between the wider players if the attacking wingers are caught too high, and we could be overrun in the midfield when playing against a 4-3-3 for an example with three midfielders. So in an attempt to not highlight these weaknesses, we won't be overly aggressive in trying to win the ball back. We won't counter press, neither regroup, as that may invite too much pressure. We will try and aim to keep our defensive shape through player roles and not leaving our positions to close down. Once the ball is won, we will activate our counter attack where we are most dangerous. But that's the main mechanics of the tactic. We're now going to go into Football Manager to have a look at the tactics, the player roles and instructions before looking at the results of Manchester United and Oxford United. So now let's go to Football Manager. So here we have RDF's powerful 4-2-4. Now there's actually two versions. There's a one with a box-to-box midfielder and there's one with a Mazzala. Of course, the Mazzala is a fairly more advanced or more attacking option. So if that's the version you want to use, then you can use that. But the box-to-box version is a lot more solid, and it's the version that I used all the time with Man United, and I used the Mazzala very occasionally with Oxford United. But what we're going to do is go through the player roles, the player instructions, the team instructions as well before looking at the results. So for the mentality, we are using positive. That is kind of set to default for me. Every time I create a tactic, I start on positive, and then if it needs changing, I can go either higher or I can drop down to balanced. For the attacking width, we are set to fairly wide, so we are going to be trying to direct our passes into the wider areas. This can be effective when we are using our wingers, but also once our wingers are in play, the opponent's defense may stretch as well, and that creates space for the box-to-box midfielder and for the deep line forward and advanced forward. For the approach play, we are going to be passing into the space, which again is vital, but this time for counter-attacking. Once we win the ball, we have the advance forward and we have the two wingers getting further forward, and our job, or at least the midfielders and the deeper players' jobs, are to get the ball into the path, and this can encourage more forward movement. We are also using play out from the defence. Now with this tactic, you will notice that your box-to-box midfielder actually drops very deep to receive the ball. When you do use play from defence, you would notice that one of your central midfielders will often drop very deep. With this 4-2-4 tactic, our box-to-box midfielder is the one that drops very deep, but also you can see that our two central defenders stretched and our two wide fullbacks are both nearly hugging the touchline. For our passing directness and tempo, they are both set to default, so what comes with the mentality is what is set, so it is slightly higher and the passing directness is standard. In the final third, we are using whipped crosses. This is easily one of my favourite instructions as well, especially when you have bodies inside the box. This becomes very difficult to defend against. Even if the AI win the first ball, we always have the option to win the second ball, and with the ball being whipped rather than floated is very hard to deal with. With the dribbling, we are going to be running at the defence as well. Naturally, only our wingers are going to be running at the defence. As you can see, only our wingers have dribble more hard-coded in their instructions. But we want to be more direct and we want to be more attacking, so I use run at the defence, but also this can put us in some 1v1 situations, which is very good for us as we also have a lot of movement. So if we are 1v1 with a defender, then we can easily be dragging that defender out of position, allowing for another advanced player to move into that position. In transition, when the possession has been lost, we are not going to counter press and we're not going to regroup. In fact, we are trying to keep our defensive shape as it is. We're not going to regroup as that can invite too much pressure on your team, and we're not going to counter press as we all know that can totally mess up your defensive shape. But also you can see that we have 4 very advanced players and we also have very high defensive lines and a high line of engagement. For me, counter pressing was not needed whatsoever, but when the possession has been won, then our team are going to be making our counter movements, which is of course very key for a counter attacking side. When the goalkeeper is in possession, he is going to distribute the ball quickly. For out of possession, we are using a much higher defence line mixed with an offside trap, which is a very good combination of course, and we are using a higher line of engagement. For the defensive width, we are set to narrow. There's no use of tighter marking. For the pressing intensity, we are using slightly more urgent, not more urgent and not extremely urgent. This is certainly going to please those guys that tell me that I only use more urgent pressing and counter pressing tactics. This tactic here uses neither. We are not using prevent short goalkeeper distribution and we are not using get stuck in. The main reasons we are not using any of these added instructions is so again we can keep our defensive shape. If we prevent the short goalkeeper distribution, then that instructs certain players to then tight mark and that can disrupt our defensive shape. If we increase in our pressing intensity, then that means our players are moving from their defensive position. Again, disrupting our defensive shape. And for the tackling, the reason why I'm not using get stuck in this time, because it's way too risky getting stuck in and losing out on a challenge. If we lose out on a challenge, especially higher up the pitch, then our team can be easily exposed. But that there is the team instructions. Now the player roles and instructions. In goal, we do have a sweeper keeper with the support duty. In central defence, we have that nice mix again with a central defender playing safe and a ball playing defender playing a lot more risky. The ball player defender is going to try and initiate counter attacks and also just attack and moves from deep. He can also bring the ball out, especially with the run out defence instruction added. Though that instruction is certainly more to help the attacking players, I have noticed that my ball playing defender's dribbling also increased as well. Out wide, we are using two fullbacks on the supportive duty. They are instructed to cross aim into the centre, shoot less often, tackle harder and mark tighter. They're not going to get further forward, overlap and hit the byline, but instead they're going to support the midfield, and they're also going to provide some extra width in the midfield area. In central midfield, we have a box-to-box midfielder. In attack, he's going to push forward to support the forwards, but also in defence, he's going to harry and close down any attacking midfielders, helping protect the defensive lines. That is exactly what you want from a box-to-box midfielder. And his midfield partner is a central midfielder on the defensive duty. With a defend duty, the central midfielder will focus more on sitting deep and stopping the opposition counter-attacks, but also he's going to try and control the game from the centre of the pitch. We do not have a designated playmaker, and also the box-to-box midfielder is not going to control the game in central midfield, as he's going to be the one roaming around leaving his position. So the central midfielder on the defensive duty has a very important job to do. Out wide, we have two wingers, easily our most effective attacking players, especially from counter attacks. Wingers on the attacking duty are of course going to hug the touchline, but with the attacking duty, they're going to run at the defence in the final third, aiming to cause panic but also create chances. Once they get down the byline, they are going to be sending in their whip crosses for either striker or the far-sided winger. The wingers are instructed to cross aim into the centre and mark tighter. Up top, we have a deep line forward who can act as our number 10 if needed to be, and he wants to look to bring in his teammates before attacking the box from deep. So your deep line forward is still going to attack, but just from deeper areas, and he's going to be a creator of some sort, especially for the wingers. As he drops deep and receives the ball, he's going to look wide for either winger to then advance, but also he can link up very well with your advanced forward as your advanced forward gets further forward and moves into the channels. So of course, lastly, his strike partner is an advanced forward, someone that's going to get further forward, move into channels, most importantly, score a lot of goals. That's exactly what he does in this tactic, as you will find out in the results. So that there wraps up the tactic, the team instructions, the player instructions and the roles. We are now going to check the results that we got with Manchester United and Oxford United. So now let's check out the results. So first off, I want to show you the results that I got with Oxford United, as of course with Manchester United, you do expect some very good results. So with Oxford United, we played 46, we won 32, we drew 10 and losing 4 all competition with a points tally of 106. In the Emirates FA Cup, we got knocked out in the first round by Leyton Orient. In the Carabao Cup, we got knocked out in the second round by Southend United. And in the Papa John's Trophy, we got knocked out in the semi-final by Wigan Athletic. So in the Sky Bet League 1, we scored 99 goals, one away from that 100 mark, but also we had the very best defence in the league, only conceding 36 goals in 46 games. For the most points per game, you can see that Oxford got 2.30, of course, the most points per game in the league. For the most goals, Oxford. For the most shots for Oxford. For the fewest shots against, we come in second, which we aren't expecting the best from this 4-2-4 shape. It's very attacking and it comes with a few defensive weaknesses, so we did very well to come second in fact. For the best pass completion, that is Oxford United. For the most possession, that is Oxford United again. For the most tackles won, we aren't in the top 8. For the most dribbles made, Oxford with 146. For the most clean sheets, it's Oxford with 24. And for the fewest conceded, it's Oxford again with 36 conceded. For the player stats for the most goals, you can see that Elliot Lee with 24 goals in the League One, Dembele with 27, which is the most. For the most assists, we have Liam Kelly with 21 assists in all competitions. Josh Ruffles is also there with 10. Josh is our left back. For the most shots in the league, Elliot Moore is there with 117. Elliot Lee is there in 7th place. For the most player of the match awards, our left back is there. Our central midfielder is also there, joined 4th. For the most key passes, our Liam Kelly is there with 191. But also Cameron Brannigan is there with 101. For the best pass completion, we have Elliot Moore, our centre back, with 95%. For the most tackles won, we have Sam Long. I'm not sure where he played, I forgot. He's our right back, but he also plays centre back sometimes as well. But he completed the most tackles in the Sky Bet League One. Cameron Brannigan is there with 117. He was our box-to-box midfielder, putting in a very, very good shift. For the most dribbles made, we have Brandon Barker there with 28. Though Oxford United completed the most dribbles, it was clearly more of a team effort than an individual or two completing all the dribbles. For the most clean sheets, we have Jack Stevens with 24, and for the fewest conceded, Jack Stevens finishes 6th. So for the team report, our attacking efficiency, Oxford United were aggressive and clinical. We managed more shots per match than average, and we were more clinical than a lot of other teams in the Sky Bet League One. And for our defensive efficiency, impressively, we were quiet and impenetrable. Now, that is something that I wasn't expecting to achieve, but of course, as we have achieved it, it is a huge bonus, and it makes the tactic more fun and more enjoyable, knowing that you aren't overly exposed at the back and you can actually become very solid, especially if you buy some very, very good players. We faced fewer shots per game than average, and we conceded fewer goals than what would be expected from the numbers of shots that we faced. But how did Oxford score most of their goals? 58 from play shots, 19 from headers, 8 from powerful shots, 2 curled shots, and 6 from the penalty spot. 18 of our goals came from corners, 18 came from crosses, but most of our goals, 24 goals, came from through balls. A lot of them were because of that pass into space instruction. Now, this is something that I haven't really shown you guys before, and this is something very, very interesting, because if you don't want to use the 4-2-4 all the time, here we can actually see the formations where it's most successful again. So you can see here, when we play against a 4-4-2 or a 4-2-3-1 wide, we create a lot of chances. Generally, we were successful against all of the tactics, but it was of course most effective against a 4-3-3, against a 4-2-3-1 and a 4-4-2. And now we can have a quick skim through some of the results. We lost 5-2 against Southend, but in all truthness, I played a B team in the cup trophies. Someone in the comments asked me how my players are always fit, why they're never tired, and this is mainly the reason why. When it comes to cup competitions, I simply just go to tactics. I ask my assistant to pick, I rotate a squad, and I use full rotation. So he's going to try and rotate everybody from my starting 11. He's going to put some reserves in and some under 18s in. So a tip would be to include your under 20s and your under 18s, and simply just ask your assistant to rotate the squad fully, and he then should pick some under 18s, some reserve players, and of course those players in the first team, around the first team, that aren't playing regularly enough. So that's the reason why we lost in the second round to Southend, because as you can see against Bristol, we beat Bristol, who are in the Championship, a league above, and we played our very, very best team, and we were away. You can spring some few surprises using this tactic, but if you do use your B team, don't expect some very good results. We started the league very well. Of course we did. Our first loss in the league came to Wigan away 3-2. Again, look, here's another big loss, again using our B team in the competitions. But you can see a lot of our games we do score a fair share of goals. We scored 3 in this game, we scored 2, then we scored 4, then we scored 2, then we scored 2. If you have some very good attacking players, you are going to score a lot of goals. Oxford aren't the best suited for this tactic because they don't have the fastest players, especially on the flanks and up front, which this tactic will benefit from the most, which you will see with Manchester United. But for Oxford, who scored the most goals, who were the best performers, Elliot Lee, our striker on loan, scored 27 goals. Elliot Moore, our centre back, scored 15 goals. Our winger on loan, Brandon Barker, scored 12 goals. Matty Taylor, the deep line forward, scored 11, and our other winger scored 11 goals as well. For our creative players, you can see Liam Kelly with 24 assists and our left back with 10. But that wraps up the Oxford results. We are now going to load up the Manchester United save and look at their results. Hopefully a little bit better. Hopefully. So here we are with Manchester United, where we won the quadruple. We won the Premier League, we won the Champions League, we won the Emirates FA Cup, and we won the Carabao Cup. Two of those trophies, the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup, we went out there trying to win. Again, I used the method of using my B team, but of course Manchester United have a very, very good B team. In the Premier League, we played 38, we won 30, we drew 6, we lost 2, getting a goal difference of plus 69 and a points tally of 96. Just 2 more from Liverpool. Liverpool had a very, very good season as well. They won the same amount of games as we did. So in the Premier League, you can see that we scored 95 goals, this time 5 away from that 100 mark, and we conceded only 26 goals. I believe that's about the 3rd best defence in the Premier League. So if we look at the stats, we had the highest points per game, we scored the most goals with 95, we didn't have the most shots, Liverpool did. We came in 2nd with 730. We had the 4th fewest shots against us, so you can see there are better defences in the league than us. But then again, like I said, defending isn't a priority. It's always trying to get the ball, get on the counter attack and score goals. For the best pass completion, we aren't in the top 8, so very different to the Oxford stats. For the average possession, we do finish in the top 8. We come 7th actually with 52%. For the most tackles won, we come in 5th with 885. For the most dribbles made, we're not in the top 8. Surprisingly, very crazy as well. For the clean sheets, we come in 2nd, 1 behind Manchester City, and for the fewest conceded, we come in 3rd with 26 goals conceded. For the top goal scorers in the league, we have Anthony Martial on 25 and we have Bruno Fernandes on 19. Check this out, Bruno Fernandes played on the right wing. He scored 19 goals, he also got 19 assists, easily the best player for Manchester United. Greenwood also got 14 assists as well. For the most shots, Anthony Martial with 119, Mason Greenwood is there as well on 5th place, and Marcus Rashford on 8th place. For the most players of the match awards, Bruno Fernandes is there with 10, no surprise. For the most key passes, again, no surprise, Bruno Fernandes. For the pass completion percentage, we don't have anybody. For the most tackles won, Aaron Wan-Bissaka with 159. For the most dribbles made, we have Marcus Rashford with 45. For the most clean sheets, actually, we have David De Gea. And for the fewest conceded, we have David De Gea on 22, which puts him 3rd place harshly because Zach Steffen and Ederson are both there, which completely isn't fair. Now for Manchester United's attacking efficiency, you can see that we were aggressive and clinical in our approach. Again, we managed more shots per match than average and we were more clinical than a lot of sides in the Premiership. For our defensive efficiency, again, something to be proud of. We were quiet and impenetrable. We faced fewer shots per game than average and we conceded fewer goals than what would be expected from the number of shots that we faced. How did Manchester United score most of their goals? I'm guessing very similar to Oxford. 42 of them were from place shots, 15 were from headers. This time we didn't score so much from corners, we only scored 7. Neither did we score so much from crossing, we only scored 9. Most of our goals, a lot of our goals came from through balls with 35 assists from through balls. Now for the schedules, you can just skim through some of the results here. I can see a 4-0 win against Burnley. We did get a decent 2-2 draw away to Liverpool. We beat Chelsea at home as well. We beat Seville in the Champions League. Locomotive as well, easily 4-0 at home. You can see a B team was used with Juan Mata and Daniel James getting on the score sheet. In the Champions League, we did lose to Seville as well, but we did redeem ourselves with a 4-0 win over Palace, then beating Leeds 4-2 and beating Arsenal 5-0. Now for Man United squad stats, you will see that it's a lot more impressive. You can see that Martial has 43 goals. We have Bruno Fernandes on 28. We have Marcus Rashford on 19. Greenwood on 16 and Cavani on 13. So we have 5 players on double figures, which is a huge plus. But we have Martial absolutely ripping it as an advanced forward with 43 goals. Who was the most creative players? We have Bruno Fernandes with 28 assists. I mean, identical goals, identical assists in both the Premier League and all competitions. Greenwood has also got 19 assists as a deep line forward. Rashford has 13 as a winger, and Cavani as well also played, of course, as a deep line forward. He also got 11 assists. But that there, unfortunately, wraps up this video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I hope you guys download the tactic. Make sure you are subscribed if you haven't yet. Make sure you like this video. You can share it if you want. That helps this channel out a lot. Also, a big shout out to my Patreon members. Don't forget, my Patreon link is in the description. But I'll speak to you guys soon. Stay safe